Have you ever heard of hip depth in the golf swing? We all know what hand depth means, and that means that the hands are going back deeper in the backswing. And when the hands are back deep enough, then it makes it much easier to come right down on plane and come back into the golf ball. What ends up happening to a lot of golfers is that they take their backswing here and then they get their hands and arms disconnected from the body and then just kind of lift the arms up to the top. And so when the arms just go up, now you've got to reroute, and there's you're getting stuck when we have to drop it too much to the inside. And for other higher handicap golfers, you're going to come over the top. So what we're looking for in the golf swing is we need that hand depth, because that's the number one problem with most amateur golfers, is because they're off plane, they don't have the hand depth. And when you get that hand depth, it makes, as I said earlier, much easier to come back down. But here's the secret. In order to get that hand depth up at the top, you've got to allow the shoulders to turn in order to get the hands to get deep enough. So then if we go back even more, in order for the shoulders to turn, the hips have to turn. And so if you're keeping the hips from turning in the backswing, then you're stuck not getting the depth that you need, and then as you jet out, you're going to come into early extension. So what we want to do is make sure we get hip depth, and the most important thing to do is to start at your address position. So if you don't get your hips to tilt properly, so we know that we need our shoulders right here. We're taking a level golf swing and we're tilting it down on an inclined plane. Well, we also need to make sure that our hips are tilted. So when you get into a better posture, then what we do is we get our hip to tilt. And you can see my hips are now at an angle, so when I make my backswing, my hips will get depth into the backswing. And if I just sit, then I can't get any depth, and I'm going to slide and pick the club up or suck it up to the inside. So you understand how important the depth of the hands are, and that comes from allowing the hips to turn to get its depth. The next part of the downswing, in order to fix some of that early extension, is to make sure that your hips stay closed when you shift your weight forward. So when you shift your weight forward and your hips are closed, we put it now onto our front leg, so that when you start to straighten up this left leg, it pushes the hip back this way and pushes this hip out this way and goes like this. And see, now it won't jet back out. And it's the golfers who take their backswing and don't shift their weight, then it turns and it jets out. And it could be because they didn't get enough in the backswing to start with, and it could be because they didn't shift their hips closed. So it's very important to get the hip depth, and then in the downswing, making sure that the hips are closed, or you can imagine your whole body is closed before coming down. If you watch Justin Rose and some of the other golfers, you'll see some of their drills where they take it up to the top and they're working on getting their arms and hands down there. What they're doing is making sure that they don't start extending out too early, and during that time, they're also shifting their weight forward onto their front side and then getting back into impact and extend up and through. Now, the best ball strikers in the world, we all know, they're already shifting their weight forward before the backswing even finishes. So when they shift their weight forward, they're definitely on this front leg, and that then takes away that early extension. So the magic is to try to get the hip depth, but the secret is to get it set up at address, make sure you have it in the backswing, and then keep it closed as you make your shift. And from there, you're going to then allow some of the higher handicap golfers, when you do that, you can see how the arms will drop down a little bit more. And for the lower handicap golfers who are spinning out, this will buy you the time that you need. Then you can rotate as hard as you want and extend up, and there's no way that this hip is going to get in the way. So one of the telltale signs is when I see this heel up, you see how it's more towards the target as opposed to this heel straight up. And that usually means this right hip went out. That usually means that you didn't shift your hips closed and you didn't get enough hip depth. So it begins at the setup. and then all of a sudden make sure your shoulders turn, let the hips turn, and then shift closed. And that's going to take care of your early extension and maybe some of the over the top. If you got any other questions, please leave the comments down below. I'd love to hear any of the questions that you have. You know, what makes me a better teacher is the information that I get from my students and clients. So if you tell me this stuff works for you, I would love to hear about it. Check out my website at joeparkgolf.com. There it has more information how you can get a hold of me. And don't forget, I have a lot of other videos that you can check out that'll also help you out. So fairways and greens, that's what you want to do.